Okay, so you're new to Elite Dangerous, but you found that Power Play part of your interface. You saw that one portrait was far more beautiful than the others, and decided to pledge life and liberty to Princess Aisling Duval. What now? What even is Power Play? Well, that's why you clicked on this video. Simply put, Power Play is the state of the galaxy, or more specifically the populated bubble, in regards to 11 powers and the independent pilots that align themselves with these powers. Over the course of this video, we will cover the following topics: Power Play standings, the Power Play economy, what you can do to help Princess Aisling Duval, what you can do to avoid helping other powers, and frequently asked questions. The Power Play standings. You've probably seen the Power Play standings, and at the time of writing, it looks like this. It may or may not be the same when you get to this video. Now, as a newly pledged Aisling Duval commander, you're probably thinking, oh no, Aisling is in 4th place. How do I move her up the standings? And I'm sorry to say this, but these rankings mean bupkis. Alright, these standings are absolutely bupkis. There are some cases where a higher ranking may be desirable. However, it's not really worth pushing for a higher ranking, and anyone telling you otherwise is ignorant or selling you something else. You see Princess Aisling in 4th place, you see her in 11th place. It's okay. Don't panic, don't worry. There's nothing wrong with that. Keep calm and carry on. The Power Play economy. The economy is the bread and butter of Power Play. So let's take a quick look at our overview. Most of these numbers don't matter too much. For this basic guide, I just want you to worry about CC. CC is short for Command Capital, and you can just think of it as money. Each power has a headquarters. For Princess Aisling Duval, our headquarters is in the system of Cubeo. There are a number of systems around Cubeo, and some of these systems are control systems. Around all control systems, there is a 15 light-year exploitation sphere. Any system within these spheres becomes an exploited system. These control systems generate CC based on the population within their exploitation sphere. If it helps, you can think of this as being taxed. And the higher the population, the more people there are to tax, the higher the income. So let's say we want to expand, we want to make more money, so we do this by creating a new control system. So let's create a new control system. You do this by first preparing a system by taking materials from Cubeo to the system you want to turn into a control system. In the following cycle, we would go through the expansion process, but for the purpose of this guide, let's just say the expansion was successful. This turns the system into a new control system. And just like any other control system, it generates its own 15 light-year exploitation sphere. And it seems that we've made a little bit of a mistake here. An exploited system is inside 2 exploitation spheres. While it is possible To have a system within two exploitation spheres, you cannot tax a system for CC twice. Therefore, the expansion is wasteful. It is not taxed twice and it doesn't generate any additional income. The volume of the exploitation sphere spent creating that overlap could be better spent somewhere else. To maintain control systems, we must pay CC every week. There are two costs for each control system. Upkeep, which scales based on distance from HQ, and overhead, which scales based on the total number of control systems. For best results, make expansions that bring in more CC than they cost to maintain. Now, it is possible to reduce the cost of a control system for a week, for one cycle, through fortification. It's very easy to fortify a system. I've put a step-by-step guide on the screen. Feel free to pause the video and go through it step by step. I will not read it now, but the short version is you take fortification materials from Cubeo to a control system. Don't confuse the fortification materials, which are called program materials, with preparation materials, which are called media materials. The two cannot be switched. When a fortification reaches 100%, the system is fortified. This reduces the upkeep of the system by its base value. And here you can see an example of a fortified system. However, you don't need to fortify over 100%. I see this every single week. This is wasteful. So here you see that you only need to use about 5,000 materials to fortify this system to 100%. And commanders have fortified it using 180,000 materials. So this comes out to over 1 billion credits wasted fortifying this system. And I see this every single week after week for years at this point. People spend billions of credits fortifying systems that don't need it. Save your credits, fortify good systems. Undermining. It is possible for other powers to increase the upkeep of our control systems, and for us to increase the upkeep of theirs. This process is called undermining. When a system is undermined, its upkeep is increased by its income value. I can go into more detail, but that's beyond the scope of this guide. However, the simple version is that fortification and undermining cancel each other out. What if Princess Aisling Duval has no CC to maintain her control systems? What if we can't afford to maintain our control systems? Let's return to our example, and let's say that we cannot afford to maintain our control systems. In this case, one or more control systems will go into turmoil until we can afford all of our control systems. And if they turmoil for one more week, they will revolt and they will no longer be a control system. However, this isn't really a bad thing. This is how powers shed bad control systems. In our example, we dropped a bad control system. This was a good turmoil. This was a good revolt. Now we've freed up CC to be spent on a more valuable expansion. Through turmoil, we've actually given Princess Aisling Duval an opening to become more powerful. How can I help? It's really easy to help. The most important thing to do is to get rating 2 every week and vote consolidation. What is consolidation? Consolidation and preparation are how powers decide how aggressively to expand. The higher the preparation vote, the more systems we expand. And here we have an example of the preparation screen. As you can see, I have already voted consolidation. So, systems above consolidation will be sent to the expansion phase. However, if the consolidation vote is at 75% or higher, consolidation will be at number 1, and the power will spend up to 500 CC to protect their systems, and 0 systems will be prepared for expansion. 0 systems will go into the expansion phase. Why do we vote consolidation? In our case, since there are rarely any good systems to expand into, we would rather 0 systems go into the expansion phase. We want that vote to be at 75% or higher. So when in doubt, vote consolidation. The next thing you could do is join the Discord or Slack. I will provide a link in the description. I personally use Discord more than Slack, but I know there are commanders who prefer Slack. If you really want to go the extra mile, you can work with other commanders to boost our BGS through the Discord or Slack. But I know sometimes you don't want to join a new Discord or Slack. In that case, you can keep an eye on the Trello and fortify targets on the Trello. This link will also be in the description. But while you're doing that, make sure you're following the 1-ton test. When you take your fortification materials to a system to fortify it, initially drop 1 ton. This will update your power play UI. If the system is already at 100%, take your materials to fortify a different system. If the Trello is finished and you still don't have the rank you want, it's okay to over-fortify. But don't fortify random systems. We have people that work very hard to pick only the best systems to fortify every cycle. How to avoid helping other powers. The first thing you can do is avoid fortifying targets not on the Trello. Every week, certain systems are undermined just a little bit to show up as under threat, and this gets random commanders to fortify them. But if they're not in the Trello, don't worry about them. These systems are usually loss makers anyway, so if they did turmoil and go away, it would be a blessing, not a wound. The second thing you can do The second thing you can do is avoid undermining random systems from opposing powers. Just like how undermining loss makers can actually help us, undermining random systems that might be loss makers for other systems could be beneficial to them. If you want some good undermining or opposition targets, join the Discord or Slack. We can give you plenty of things to pew pew. We just want you to pew pew the right things. And of course, the third thing you can do is vote consolidation. It really is that important. Frequently asked questions. Does the consolidation vote really matter? What if I want Princess Ashling's power to expand? Yes, the vote absolutely matters. I cannot stress this enough. The current systems that are available are loss makers. It is better to consolidate and wait for another power to drop a good system and take that good system than to mindlessly expand, wasting our CC on bad systems. Voting preparation, when there are no good systems to expand into, is actively destructive to Princess Ashling's power. Help, I can't vote. Uh, in order to be eligible to vote, you must be rating 2, so you must have 100 merits at the end of a cycle, and you must be pledged for at least 4 weeks at the beginning of a cycle. If you don't satisfy both of these conditions, you cannot vote. Your power to vote updates on the tick, on the cycle's end, so you will go at most 4 weeks and 6 days unable to vote. What do we do if the consolidation vote is too low? If for some reason the consolidation vote is below 75%, we try to have a system that is very easy to oppose prepared. Might be a bad system, but it'll be easier to turmoil and drop later. For finer details on which systems are good candidates for this, please join the Discord or Slack. I keep hearing about cycles. What's a cycle? A cycle here refers to the power play cycle, which runs every week from Thursday 0700 UTC to Thursday 0700 UTC. You can see the current time in game by turning on the in-game clock from one of the options menus. At the end of a cycle, all the actions a power takes are tabulated, they're acted upon, and the next cycle begins anew. Think of a cycle as a turn in a game, and everyone takes their turn at the same time. Is there a way to make systems we already control more profitable? There is a way for Frontier Development to make them more profitable. but there's nothing we can do as independent pilots to make systems more profitable. Unfortunately, it is what it is. I keep hearing about HIP 1572. Is it really that bad? HIP 1572 is probably worse than whatever you've heard. HIP 1572 is near HQ, so it's really easy to expand into. HIP 1572 has low population in its sphere, so it's not profitable. And HIP 1572 overlaps several other exploitation spheres, which, as we mentioned before, is not good. Under no circumstances should you ever prepare HIP 1572. Just don't do it. I noticed that you highlighted some words like control system, exploited system, fortification throughout the guide. Why'd you do that? We often get questions like, why can't I drop these materials off at the system? Or where do I turn in my undermining opposition merits? The answers to these questions tend to revolve around control systems and exploited systems. There's a distinct difference between a control system and an exploited system. So while it was also so that it'd be easier to find everything in my diagrams, it's also hopefully to your benefit so that you understand that they're not the same thing. I'm not pledged to Ashling Duvall. Does this guide help me for my power? First, I want to thank you for going through the entire video and making it this far on a guide that is intended for Ashling Duvall commanders. The answer is yes, absolutely. The guide is presented with a focus on Ashling Duvall pledges. The economy works the same way, no matter what power you're aligned with. The differences are usually in how you fortify, how you prepare, how you expand. For Ashling Duvall, it's really easy. We just haul materials back and forth. Um, for other powers, you might have to do combat. But as far as economy goes, it's the same for all powers. And if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments, write them on the Reddit. Um, if you join the Discord, there are plenty of people there who will help you if you have any questions. But that's pretty much everything I've got. Hope it helps you. Hope it helps everybody really. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hope to see you in space, Commanders.